What you've been told about this is probably not 100% accurate, so let's make some clarity. By now you know that Khalil was arrested by ICE on an alleged affidavit by the State Department to start deportation proceedings. Khalil is a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder who is married to an American citizen and who, during the pro-Palestinian protests of last year, acted as, among other things, a negotiator at Columbia University, where he was a student. The government alleges that Khalil led activities aligned with Hamas, which, as you know, the State Department classifies as a terrorist organization. But the key element here is that no specific evidence or even charge has been offered against Khalil until now. And this is important because, number one, he's being held under immigration laws. And number two, green card holder permanent residents are entitled to due process protection under the Fifth Amendment before they can be stripped of their residency. This means that usually deportation proceedings can only start after a conviction. But this is where this statute comes in, because according to this law, even green card holders can be detained, arrested without a warrant, and then deported for simply endorsing or espousing terroristic activities. But there are limits, because yes, this law allows for deportation even without a conviction, and even if it somewhat curtails somebody's freedom of speech, but not if the government is simply repressing freedom of speech and uses this law to do that. And it can be easily argued that if Khalil's demonstration do not rise to the level of espousing terrorism, then the government's deportation is violating Khalil's First Amendment rights, and it's simply acting as a way to curtail dissidents. But here's another twist. Apparently, the government is acting on the basis of Section 237 of the Immigration and Naturalization Act, specifically this statute, which allows the Secretary of State to certify that a non-citizen's presence in the United States represents a foreign policy concerns and therefore recommend deportation. So can this guy simply certify that Khalil represents a foreign policy concern and just have him deported? Not so fast, because that certification still requires clear and convincing evidence as to why the State Department believes that Khalil's presence in the United States represents a foreign policy concern so strong, so high, that it requires deportation. Most importantly, Marco Rubio's authority to certify that cannot be exercised if it violates Khalil's First Amendment rights. So is there evidence that Khalil can or should be deported? We don't know, because once again, the key point is that the government has yet to present any evidence of deportability. In fact, during a recent hearing, Khalil's own lawyers complained about their inability to meet with their client, to the point that the court had to order the government to allow access to counsel. So far, what we know is that Mahmoud Khalil was a vocal pro-Palestine supporter, but that alone is not a crime and certainly not deportable behavior. And in the United States, at least for the moment, we should uphold the values of free speech, no matter how uncomfortable it is.